I was getting nervous. Bill O'Reilly, I mean, the guy was all over the map the last couple of weeks. He's in L.A., he's doing Howie Mandel, he's doing Bill Maher. I was like, boy, does he still have time for us on KCMO in Kansas City? And God bless him, he does. BillO'Reilly.com every night. You hear his morning update at 7:15. You hear the No Spin News at 8 p.m. Confronting Evil is absolutely crushing it ahead of the holidays. Bill, good morning. What was the best part of that L.A. podcast tour you were on the last few weeks?
Getting on the plane coming home. I used to like to go out to the West Coast, Southern California. Weather's great. I have a lot of friends out there, or I did. A lot of them are leaving. And, it was a nice environment, nice change from New York. But this time, there was a gloom, and I mean that, just hanging over the whole place. We stayed in Beverly Hills, which is like a total country different from California. They have their own laws, their own police, their own everything. No homeless. They don't put up with anything there. But Los Angeles himself is a mess. It's filthy. Crowded with cars. There's no traffic control. Shoplifting is legal. So if you want to go in and buy a razor blade, it takes 2 hours. They got to get it out of the cabinet. They got to get your ID. It's insane.
Wow.
So we did it, obviously, to promote Confronting Evil. It worked very well for us. It's always a bit of a risk to go on somebody like Maher's show. I've known him for a long time, decades. But, when I strut in there, it's me against him. That's what it's all about. It was friendly, and I think it went our way.
I agree. I watched it, but I will give Maher this. He's not one of these way out there left loons, right? I mean, he's had moments like this the last couple of years where he's called out the crazy left in his preferred political party. Is that something that you give him credit for, or is he just stating the obvious when he does that?
I don't know if I give him credit for it or anybody else. I'm not picking on Bill Maher. My philosophy, Mundo, is pretty simple. Do the right thing. Your ideology is not supposed to prevent you, and I'm talking to conservatives and liberals, from doing the correct thing for yourself, your family, and your country. So I don't know if I give people credit for doing the right thing. I think that Maher showed some courage, and he's always had that, by going against his ingrained audience. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because when I walked out there, if you're going to go to Paramount to sit there and see Bill Maher, chances are you're a progressive or lean that way. And the audience was very respectful, but at the end, they were rooting for me.
Really?
And the reason they were was I kind of brought a little humor into it. I wasn't trying to, make anybody look bad or anything like that. I was all what they call reactive. I didn't go in with any agenda at all. I'm going to answer your questions. And then when Maher, which he always does, took a cheap shot saying, well, I'm still on television and you're not, and I was ready for that. I just crushed him. I said, well, it might not be true. I had 23 million people watching me on News Nation in the Three Americans Town Hall in the Kennedy Center. And that's like 10 HBOs. And he had no comeback. Well, I'll have to check those stats are in stone. Okay? So anyway, it was a good experience, but you got to know where you're going. And you got to be prepared for anything.
Well, Maher came off like a dinosaur there because he doesn't realize how people consume their content in the 21st century.
There you go. So I'm the Luddite.
Yeah.
I'm the true Luddite. People go, oh, TikTok. I wouldn't know how to get the TikTok. What? I know what it is, but I've never been there. But I know my numbers. Mm-hmm. I know what everybody is doing in the United States, radio, television, internet, because that's my business. Mm-hmm. I compete. And yeah, he did come across somebody who didn't really have much of a clue how Americans are consuming information these days.
You're so right. Bill O'Reilly's here on KCMO. So, Bill, you had, I think it was yesterday, your message of the day talking about President Trump and how much access he gives to the media, while at the same time, not that they're ever going to be fair to him, but boy, they are obviously all in on destroying this second term, and he does give them some ammunition. I mean, this whole thing with the drug boats and their video and now his response calling it seditious behavior. Where do you think that relationship between the president and the media can go, needs to go, or should go here as we go into a midterm year in 26?
Well, I'm writing a column for Sunday on this very same topic on BillO'Reilly.com. It's not going to go anywhere because it benefits both parties. So Trump gets currency from the MAGA people and his supporters when he goes in and he threatens to execute the press. They like that. And then the press gets currency from their mostly liberal watchers when they go in and try to embarrass Trump. It's a game. It's not doing American people any good, but it's a political game. And the game's not going to stop. So, Trump's not going to give he's not going to give anybody at ABC, Mary Bruce, a lethal injection. All right. It's not going to happen. But he can just say stuff and rally his forces. That's what a populist does. And Ms. Bruce, who asked him the very rude question when the Saudi prince was in the Oval Office, all she wants to do is run him down. She's not interested in getting any information from Trump or the prince. She just wants to embarrass them, which is embarrassing in itself, because that's not what journalism's supposed to be.
So then, with that being the case, if it's a game, as you said, is it a game that can help the president and his party win in the midterms, or is the game going to be won by the other side, who gets a lot of ammunition out of this stuff?
Well, the game is pretty tired now. I think everybody's getting a little tired of the game. So I wouldn't be putting a lot of hope that this is going to be a big vote persuader. Mm-hmm. It goes day by day, but what's really going to make the difference next year, and you saw that when Trump took the tariffs off Brazil, is the price of food. And, on an ancillary front, insurance is killing working people, just killing, home, car, health, across the board. These insurance companies are greedy SOBs. They don't want to pay your claim. I mean, if I were president, I'd go in on these people, boy, oh boy, because I know what they're doing. And they're not looking out for anybody but themselves. And look, I think I talked to you about this a few weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes, love him, by the way, unbelievable athlete. He's making about $10 million from State Farm Insurance, doing the cute commercials. Mm-hmm. And more power to Patrick. More power. I do it all day long. But those insurance companies are jacking up every rate they can for people making $50,000 a year. You see what I mean?
Yep.
And so I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. Maybe you cut back on a few of the commercials and give the working folks a break. But no. Okay. So you want to go? I'm going to take this on as a cause. And President Trump should too as well. Should do that. Because if he can show in the early part of 26, first 6 months, that he is actively working to bring these prices down, they have a good shot, the Republicans, to retain power. If he can't, and they get worse, Democrats will win at least one house.
What about, though, on that issue in particular, Bill O'Reilly, tort reform being part of the equation here? I mean, I remember all the jingles of the Celino and Barnes guys there in New York. Every other TV commercial here in Kansas City is some personal injury attorney. I mean, what about tort reform? You're seeing some success in Florida on that front, and I would love to see that cause taken up as well, because there's a lot of grifters in that business. State
issue. Mm-hmm. Feds can't do that. So that's a state-by-state issue. And you're absolutely right. These ambulance chasers, and many of them are extortionists.
Yes.
Okay? They're running wild. And they're jacking up every fee for everybody, and the insurance has to pay it, and they justify their rate increases by saying, well, we got to pay out all these judges.
Mm-hmm.
Well, states got to get, every state has an insurance commission, has an agency that's supposed to oversee this stuff. Well, I don't know many states that do. You mentioned Florida. I'd have to look into it. But that is a corruption in our country that is outrageous.
Yeah.
But the folks aren't there yet. The folks are there on the grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not quite there on how badly they're getting hosed by the insurance companies.
You're right about that. So speaking of insurance, obviously we have not talked to you since the shutdown ended. Democrats will make a big issue going into 26 on these Obamacare subsidies being extended. Almost 15 years of Obamacare, Bill, and it doesn't seem like Republicans have had a very good answer to any of this. Where do you see that going as we head towards the end of this year into early next year?
Well, I assume that the leadership in the House and Senate, and that's Johnson and Thune, are talking about putting forth a health care bill that would drive down insurance premiums. I assume they're doing that, but I don't know for sure. Now, it's not a big issue for Trump because it's so complicated, and Trump's a deal maker. He's a singular deal maker. Okay, so he's got the Saudi Arabian guy in there. One day, he gets $1 trillion, Trump, of investment into the USA. That's what he does. But a long, complicated slog through public policy, that's not his strength. So it's got to be done in the congressional area. You would think the Republicans would be on it, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bill O'Reilly here on KCMO. Well, Bill, I do want to also ask you just about Pope Leo. You're a proud, staunch Catholic, but Pope Leo has gotten awfully political lately when it comes to some of our immigration policies. What would you say? There's a large Catholic contingency here in the Kansas City area. How are you handling it, and what would you say to the folks in Kansas City?
Well, it's a divided thing because you're trapped between public policy and theology. So anybody who's a Roman Catholic, or most Protestant sects as well, are compelled by the theology to help people in need. And you don't have to check their passport before you do that. So that's Leo's position. So I'm going to leave the secular stuff to the governments, but everybody's compelled to help the poor, help suffering. And that's right. But that's what the theology is based upon. But when you only go into one area and say, okay, and then by innuendo, Leo's not come out and said Trump's a bad guy or the United States is terrible. He hasn't done that because all the European countries are now cracking down on illegal migration as well, including Italy. All right? So they're all doing it because they can't afford it. They just can't pay for billions of people to be marching in. And that's what it would be. Everybody in the third world, they don't want to live in Niger. I mean, they're trapped. They can get out, they're going to get out. So it's a very complicated thing. It doesn't get me angry at all because I understand where Pope Leo's coming from. If Pope Leo were to condemn the United States immigration law, that would be another story. Mm-hmm. Then I might have to get involved with that. I'm going to petition the Pope to sit for an interview with me. I'm going to send him a picture of my book, A Bold, Fresh Piece of Humanity, where it's my confirmation picture on the cover. He said, come on, you got to give me an interview. Guys about that are heavy against, but it's not impossible. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try. But I don't think the Pope's going to get out into U.S. politics. I I don't think he's going to do that.
All right. Well, that would be smart of him. Bill O'Reilly on KCMO. Confronting Evil, obviously, is doing very well. And I'll say this on behalf of this radio station. Thank you to Bill. Next month, when we do our Children's Miracle Network Miracle Day of Hope, Bill is going to give a personally addressed signed copy of Confronting Evil to our top 10 donors who will help us raise thousands and thousands of dollars on behalf of the kids here in Kansas City. So thank you ahead of time for that, Bill. We appreciate it. And Confronting Evil, how are you going to package this thing for the holidays? I know that's been a kind of tough spot for you right now. So what are you doing?
Yeah, to tell you can't put evil under the tree. No, it doesn't work. So I'm putting Evil and Confronting the Presidents together. Okay? We're giving you a great price for both books on BillO'Reilly.com. Get Evil in that Christmas stocking. No.
Yeah, all right.
No, that doesn't really play. But it is a good gift. It'll hold people's attention, and you'll learn a lot. And I appreciate the charity you guys are doing out there in the KC area. And I'm pleased to be a part of it, and we'll raise a lot of money.
Yeah, you're helping a lot of kids, Bill, so thank you very much for that. We won't talk to you. I'll give you some time there, so have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you in 26.
All right, have a good Thanksgiving, Linda.
All right. Bill O'Reilly, great to have him on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. And streaming as always on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Fantastic as always.